Okay, so I'm just going to go right down the line in order of the squares on my second device here, which means Terry, you're up first.
All right. Hi, everybody. Terry Gendron, elementary section president for the state, your section rep for elementary PE as well, and recreation, leisure, adventure rep and conference chair. So good to see everybody.
Definitely. That is the nice thing about the virtual format and having to pivot because of the concert and the weather. So that worked out. But I'm glad we're seeing some faces of people that have been so busy with coaching and you know, life. So Allison, you're up next.
Allison Relier, Guilderland High School, current treasurer and board of directors.
Okay, thank you. Joanne.
Hi, Joanne Sabrin from Rosendale Elementary School in Niskayuna. And Jess, go ahead and check and see if Jessica Verini is trying to get on, I think she said.
Oh, I thought we clicked.
I've let her in like a dozen times.
So did I.
Yeah.
I think she sometimes has Wi-Fi trouble. So like at the moment, she's not even in the waiting room, but if you're texting with her, maybe have her refresh if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Okay.
tell her we've been letting her in every time she's tried to join.
She's here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Welcome. I have Jen Murphy is up next.
Hey everybody, how are we doing? Good to see you guys. Jen Murphy, Bethlehem Central Schools, K-12 PE Health Fact Supervisor, and also Capital Zone Secretary. Good to see you guys.
Excellent. Tamara, you're up next.
Hi, Tamara Bringleson Effort, Guilderland High School, elementary, middle school leadership awards and conference committee.
Welcome, Tamara. Mackenzie, good to see you. You're up.
Hello, Mackenzie Aiken, Middleburg High School, future professionals representative.
Awesome. Joelle, our new coaching rep, is up next.
Hi, everyone. I can't get my video to work, so I've been trying to figure it out. But thank you for having me. I am the new coaching rep. Thanks to Jess Verini for giving me the position. I am a phys ed teacher at Shama, and I'm excited to be on board. And I see a lot of familiar faces, so it's good to see everyone.
Welcome. We are really happy to have you, Joelle. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Charlie, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Charlie Gonsalves. I'm with the AD Roundtable through CASDA.
Thanks, Charlie. Jill.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian Austin, Bethlehem High School health teacher and the health section rep.
Welcome. Ken Danzy's up.
Kenneth Danzy, let me get my, see if I get my video work. You can hear me?
Yep.
Kenneth Danzy, Baltimore City Schools, elementary teacher at now, and I'm a leadership committee.
Excellent. Good to see you, Ken.
Yep. I'm glad it's virtual.
Yeah, there are definite benefits to kind of being back and forth this year. So we're just going to roll with it, right? Pete, you're up next.
Pete Stapleton, higher ed rep, Russell Sage College.
Excellent. Good to see you, Pete. Colleen, you are up next.
Hi, everybody. I can't see you. I got major internet problems, so I'm on the phone. Colleen McCurd. I teach at the middle school in Amsterdam. I am aquatics and equity, diversity, and inclusion, and co-chair with Tamara for middle school elementary leadership awards.
Excellent. Just to name a few things. Hi, Colleen. Jess Greeny, you're up next. Hey, Jess, looks like you're having some tech trouble.
Oh, I can't even, my internet is just shot.
That's what we thought.
It's so annoying. I had to turn my kids' Coco Melon off because I can't freaking have both on the internet. Or it doesn't work. Jessica Verini from Amsterdam High School, the adaptive PE rep.
Welcome, Jess. Okay, we also are going to have two guests tonight, one of whom I see has just popped on, and if she doesn't mind introducing in just a moment, that would be great. But we have two guests that will be joining, one now and perhaps the next in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so, both of whom are here to listen in and discuss a little bit about a potential scholarship for our dear friend Wendy. So the first of our two guests is Michelle Kopp. I don't know, Michelle, if you want to pop on your camera and say a quick hello. We'd love to say hi. She may not be with us just yet. We did do like a 7:20 time for touching base. So we can double back to Michelle. And our second guest will be Christine Tylock, both of whom were very close friends of Wendy's. And they're going to share some pretty exciting things that are possibilities for ways to honor our Wendy. So we will do that. My plan for tonight was to kind of proceed how we typically do business, and then right around 7:20 or so, or when we have both guests available, maybe find a good time to segue over to a conversation for new business, and then double back if we have to, just so that we can be conscientious of everybody's time and keep our group meeting as needed with our group and so on. So thanks for your flexibility with that, as I know we're all looking for ways to honor Wendy. Okay. And I'm just getting a little message from Megan Reynolds, who's saying she can't get in, but I don't have anybody in the waiting room. Terry, you don't see anything either, right?
No, I haven't seen her come up at all.
Neither have I. So just bear with me 1 second.
I can send her the link, Jess.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell her. Technology. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to pull up my screen here so that I can share with you our. Let's see. Our slides for tonight. Actually, while I'm messing around with this, why don't I drop our minutes from last time into the chat so that we can do the double duty here. All right, so this should be let's see.
So Jess, you're muted, just so that you know.
That's so weird. Something popped up that said the host muted you, but I don't know. Okay, so I think we're good here. In the chat, that is the link for the minutes. They should be accessible to anyone who has that link. If you want to give those a once over while I pull up the slides for tonight, and then we can start with our secretary report.
Did you say the secretary report or the treasurer report?
Just secretary report to approve the minutes. All right,
Are you
here
ready
we
for a motion to approve?
If people have looked through them over, yep, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes when you're ready.
Motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. That's Pete for the motion to approve. Can I get a second?
Second.
Colleen seconded the motion. All in favor? Okay, that looks like enough votes for it to pass for the minutes from last time. Thank you. Okay, excellent. I will also drop a quick link to the CTLE in the chat as well for those who need either the CTLE or the certificate of attendance rather. So feel free to fill that out. Okay. All right. And now we're ready for Allison to go ahead and give the treasurer's report.
Okay, we've definitely picked up with a little bit of activity because of the high school leadership awards. So we've had some money coming in and some money going out. Our current checking beginning balance was $5,873.97. And our balance as of May 11th for our checking is $6,578.14. Let's see here. Moving to our mutual fund account. We are currently sitting at $18,992.18. We did see a $2,159.50 change in our value going down. I was on the board of directors meeting with Rick and the other board members. This is expected. This is what we should expect to do with everything going up and going down with the current market. So we are not in any way in any type of trouble or any area of concern, even at a state level. We've gone through all the financials there. So although you might be hearing of a potential budget that could be coming up from the state level, that there might be somewhat of a deficit, there will be reasons as to why those deficits will be, taking place. When I'm taking a look at our budget, I'm going to obviously try not to have any type of deficit in our budget or keep it as minimal as possible. But honestly, that will depend on my three main committees that are in this room for the high school leadership awards. So I've received Megan's and Ken's. I got their numbers, and I have received Terry's. I have not received anything from elementary leadership. I did send out an email asking for just approximate income and expenses. So I literally need just two numbers to plug into the budget. You can give me a more detailed report later, but I do need to get my budget ready for the final meeting. We haven't, obviously, as many of you know, I just want to talk about this briefly. We haven't had a lot of, income coming in, except when we're offering some type of programming. So income coming in from awards by Walsh for those districts that chose to have them mailed out is really not making money because we have to pay post office to send those plaques out. Plus Ken and Megan also had costs that they had for getting all of the awards ready and out. So that looks a little bit different this year. We didn't have, obviously a sit down ceremony, but, so we don't have those costs. Same thing with elementary leadership, but that will probably look a little bit different depending on sponsorship. There'll be costs for shirts and the costs that they usually have. But then there's costs that didn't happen. So, it's just going to be a different type of budget, for next year. I would like to think that we're going to go back to normal programming. So you might see a deficit budget coming up in June. And we just have to be prepared for that. We have the ability to move some money around from our mutual funds at no penalty. So that's something that we can definitely do. We've been holding on in our checking account, kind of staying in this, anywhere between $700 and $8,500. We've just kind of been doing like a little bit of this for the past 2 years. Overall, the mutual long-term investment this is the first time it's dipped below $20,000 in months. I mean, months. So again, not really concerned about that. Rick mentioned that, you know, it's an overall type of margin for interest that we're making. The association is still doing very well. You know, at one point, you know, the goal is to make an average of 8% on those mutual funds. I mean, we were seeing like 18%, 19% gains, which is amazing. So with the dips of what's happening now, it's to be expected. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
If I understand what you're talking about with the, like, what expenses are going to be, and we were unable to get sponsors. I had one feeler out and that didn't work. But when you put the budget together, if it's a deficit, but we get sponsors for next year, how is that a bad thing to do that? Like, I just want to make sure, because you're the smart one with money. I'm not. I don't understand. I mean, I'll be blunt with that. If we get sponsors, that's okay, right? It's not going to mess up your budget.
Thanks for the smart comment. I'll just take, I'm the person with the purse. So if any additional sponsorships come in, it's a win, right? So it will help to maybe level off that budget line a little bit. We do include sponsorships in your specific budget because they are secured in your specific budget. So know that if you get a sponsor that comes in for the 2023 Leadership Awards, that's projected. You didn't get any sponsors for this year, so that budget line would be 0. So you're going to be giving me, you know, your expenses and your income. Those are the 2 numbers I need, like by tomorrow. Yeah.
Allison, I sent them to you last night.
Because Tamara's a smart one in my committee about money. I just have to surround myself with smart people.
I just used the same numbers as last year.
I don't have that email in here.
I sent it at 5:46 p.m. The total projected income is $155. The projected expenses is $6,625.
Hold on, I'm going back in and looking. Just text me, okay?
Yeah.
I don't see the email, so I'll go back through, but I don't.
Yeah, I just attached it to the one that you sent out.
Weird. All right, I'll go back through. Okay, yeah, just text me the numbers real quick until I can find the email.
Will do.
Oh, got it. Don't.
All right.
Got it.
All right.
That's better than yesterday. That was yesterday. Go, Tamara.
Thanks for your work on those. And thanks, Allison, for explaining. That's definitely what they were talking about at some of our meetings with regard to the expected changes. But all in all, I think we're doing okay. And obviously having some of our events, you know, virtually or essentially not at all, you know, sending out things in the mail and making videos is a big factor. So hopefully next year, despite some of these projections, it'll be on the upswing again.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks so much.
I
am going to digress for a second. I do see Meg Reynolds has joined us. So hey, Meg, good to see you. And both of our guests are here now. So I think we'll take a moment to talk a little bit about a potential scholarship for our Wendy. I also wanted to invite our guests, Christine Tylock and Michelle Kopp, if they wanted to listen in on the report for the progress that we're making with the Carol Atkins Memorial Scholarship. So we're going to do those back to back. That way, if anything that we are already doing could be of assistance, maybe we'll pass that along, knowing that this is going to be an ongoing discussion from time to time. So if Christine and Michelle would like to hop on and say hello, welcome.
Hi, I don't see Christine yet. Is she on? Is she? Yes? Okay, I'm getting this from Joanne. Joanne, you're going to have to speak because you took copious notes and mine are, we have, Christine, Joanne, and I are searching for the right kind of scholarship, honorary awards that we can give in Wendy's honor. And Wendy knew a lot about Carol's. And so that really intrigued those of us that aren't PE people in how that worked and how you can do it specifically for a particular description. It can fit kind of, it can go in a lot of different directions that are more I guess personal in Wendy's case. So jump in anytime, Joanne. We kind of went other places, and Joanne brought this up, and we know how much your organization meant to Wendy and means to Joanne. And it just seemed to make a lot of sense when we started talking about it. And so we don't want to take anything away from Carol's, because that's a new thing too. And I know Wendy was involved in that. So, I mean, but we have kind of some thoughts in terms of maybe being a Schenectady County award, because she worked at 2 different school districts in Schenectady County. And I also think she had a fondness for the city of Schenectady as it is and its needs. I know I do. I'm jumping around here.
Yeah, you know what, Michelle, I can even give a little bit of history too. Like when Christine approached us, she had gone to the Niskuna Community Foundation Association and looked into a potential scholarship there. And she did a lot of research. So thank you, Christine, for doing that. And as a result of that, it's huge. The minimum is 35,000 to start. And right then we're like, wow, you know, this is really, really tricky at this point. So when she came back to Michelle and I and gave the information, I said, well, you know, and then I mentioned Carol's, and I said, you know, to jumpstart that, it was 7,500. And so we, as the 3 of us, thought that was much more manageable and much more realistic. And so that's why, you know, I kind of got Allison involved too. And I said something about how, you know, with New York State AFERD and with them setting up an account for us or a fund for us, similar to what we're doing for Carol, would that make sense in Wendy's situation? And Christine, if you want to say anything else about that, or, you know, that's kind of where we shifted. And I asked Jess if we could be on the agenda for this meeting.
Thank you for allowing us to come and talk with you about this. Obviously, I think Wendy would have appreciated if there could be some kind of an award in her name, in her honor, especially through your group, because it was definitely dear to her heart. And I do know that her family is in support of that too. I've talked with them briefly about it when I was trying to go through the Niskuna Community Foundation. And I feel like this might be a better way for us to have a little bit more input as to the type of award that could be given, the frequency of award that could be given, that kind of thing. But, you know, Joanne is a little bit more familiar, obviously, with what you guys are going through for the award for, was it Carol?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the other? Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure I didn't misspeak, but, and I know Wendy was a part of that, and it meant a lot to her that was happening, you know, that she was working with that. So, I appreciate it. And I'm certainly willing to be a go-between between the family, or fill out paperwork, or whatever I would need to be doing on this end of things, if you would be willing to host this, so to speak, or if it's possible.
And the other thing I think too is we have two huge pillars in our capital zone. And, you know, we want to respect the uniqueness of Carol's, and we want to respect the uniqueness of Wendy's. And at the same time, while there may be overlap, there is uniqueness. And I think that's something that, you know, we want to all think about and respect. So with that being said, you know, like Carol's is still in the works as well. So, you know, there's some decisions that still need to be made. One of the things you mentioned financially, Christine, is that the family is supporting this. And are you thinking that the 7,500 is going to be taken care of from the get-go?
Yes, I think it is. And maybe even more than that. I'm not sure. But Wendy's sister said that she would fund that immediately.
So I think we came to you tonight to ask if we could also set up an account through central office that would be similar to Carol's. But that would allow us to go in the avenue that we think is most important right now and very manageable. I said 35,000. Yeah, we maybe would have been able to attain that, but there was so many restrictions as to where the money would go, and we didn't have a lot of say in it. So I think if we do something in this respect, we're going to be able to design it the way it would be intended for Wendy. And when, like you said, Michelle, things that were important to her. Especially with the city of Schenectady.
Yeah.
I mentioned to the girls, we probably have about 10 minutes. So we're kind of wrapping up that time frame right now. So Jess, do we have to make a motion for this? What are you thinking in terms of, can we move forward as we move forward with asking for, Carol?
I don't recall in the fall having made a motion for the plans for Carol. I think as a zone, we all just felt like it was in the best interest of the zone. And, I appreciate that everybody's saying that we want these to be two separate things, but like you said, they were both such pillars. I think, it's essential that we also do this and that it has its own feel. So I don't recall having made a motion in the fall, so I don't know that we need to do that. I do think that having gone through some of the talks and figured out some of the necessities for Carol's, we can learn from that. And then on the heels of that, do what feels right by way of the plan for Wendy. And I love the idea of Schenectady County because that does make sense for her. So I don't know that we need to make a motion. I feel like we can certainly talk about it as a zone. But I would be surprised if anyone doesn't feel similarly to how I feel in regard to the fact that this is just a necessary thing that we should do, because it isn't typical that you're going to have 2 incidents like this within 6 months, so I just think it's the right thing, and it just makes us all feel like we're doing something to honor 2 dear colleagues. So if everyone who's here tonight feels on board, I think the conversation can continue, but I don't recall, correct me if I'm wrong, having had any kind of motion in the fall for the circumstances.
If we need a motion to make it so that we're voting, so that we can let that start going. I mean, seriously, I'm excited about next spring in May to have the leadership awards, but when I think about it, I want to cry because I can't imagine us going through that and not having Wendy taking pictures and being smiling, having Carol there selling bumper stickers and being smiling. So my input is we vote now or do whatever we need to do to have both those ladies. I mean, like Carol's already put in and put Wendy in, and then whatever needs to get changed to make their scholarship or whatever people that are running it want to do in honor of either of them, because both of them would have been more than fine with any overlap for each other. I mean, so that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Colleen. And Dustin was still the president when we did all that, but I feel like I was there for the planning, and it just kind of was this grassroots thing that took on its own form, and we all supported it. So I think what I'd like to do is share out Barb, who has been integral in this whole process, couldn't be here tonight because she has some things going on, but she sent along a report. So maybe if I share out the progress of where we stand with that, that would kind of give a feel for perhaps what's to come with Wendy. Then we can move on with the rest of our meeting. And I think perhaps before we adjourn, we just maybe put some names down for who might like to be a part of the subcommittee, just like we had done before, if there's interest in that. Does that work?
That would be great.
Okay, fantastic. So Barb sent along this update. When you mentioned having access to the 7,500 already, that would be fantastic because it was 5,000 that we began with from Carol's family with an additional 1,000 from a friend. So we're right in that ballpark. In fact, it says in Barb's report that 7,500 was the number that we needed so that the scholarship could sustain itself. And Sandy Morley was the one who looked into that because she's kind of our, scholarship guru. And she, I believe, along with Allison, you checked in with Patrick as well. But that seemed to be like the magic number, so that if we made some small additions down the line, if there were some initiatives like the dress down day that they're going to do at Scotia Glenville, that would continue to add funds, but 7,500 seemed to be the amount needed so that it could be sustainable for some time. So here's what Barb shared. It says that she gave the flyer, which I'll read momentarily, that is going to be used for the dress down day in June at the Scotia Glenville schools. And it includes a short description of who Carol was. So certainly from today on, if you haven't already done so, maybe getting together some thoughts of, what you would like to share on behalf of Wendy along those same lines would be a good place to start. And this is kind of a rough draft, but I think she said it would be okay to share it out for tonight. If anybody had any thoughts to add, we certainly can. And she also said, just to review, we are establishing an account for the scholarship money that will be held through the central office of New York State AFERD. As I said a moment ago, we have the initial 5,000 from Carol's family and another 1,000 from a friend. We add the dress down money to that. The actual scholarship for Carol isn't going to be awarded until next year. So there's still some time to work out some of the kinks. I want to say our first committee meeting for this was after the first of this year, and we're already making a good deal of progress. So just for time frame sake. So here's what is going to be in the flyer for the dress down day. It says, Carol Atkins was a talented, fun-loving, caring, and supportive daughter, sister, friend, and teacher who passed away on Wednesday, August 18th, 2021, after a 5-year battle with cancer. This scholarship was established by the Capital Zone of New York State AFERD, New York State Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance, on March 7th, 2022, in her memory. Carol taught physical education for 30 years for the Scotia Glenville Central School District. She started at the middle school level and finished her career at Glendale Elementary. Carol retired in 2016, but continued to substitute in the district after retirement. Coaching was a passion for Carol, and while at Scotia Glenville, she coached softball and volleyball for many years. Carol was active in the Scotia Glenville Teachers Association. Carol was closely involved with the New York Association of Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance, where she was a past president of the Capital Zone. She also served as a zone representative for Jump Rope for Heart and elementary physical education at the state level. Carol was active in her support of Camp Bravehearts, an oncology camp for women. Carol was an avid tennis player. She enjoyed traveling with family and friends, participating in book and movie clubs, working in her flower garden, listening to music, and most importantly, spending time with family, friends, and her dog, Nellie. Carol had a quick wit and an ever-present smile. By establishing this scholarship, we hope to keep her memory alive by helping others in the profession and activities she so loved. Beautiful. So having said that, the scholarship, there's also a write-up, and perhaps Joanne, you can share that out, that explains the 3 possible places where we would award the scholarship in any given year. And one is to a student seeking college training in either phys ed or health. Another is to a student looking to attend sports camp. I want to say we had said volleyball specifically, but I don't know if we're tied down to that. And then a third would be to a teacher who was looking to pursue PD in health or phys ed. And so we wanted that flexibility to have options so that whatever felt right in any given year could be voted on by the committee and be awarded. Is there anything more that you want to add, Joanne, or anyone who was on the committee for Carol with regard to the plan? Did I miss anything?
I just put my hand up because I just really quick text Sandy Morley. We don't need a motion.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we don't need a motion, but it needs to be recorded and a committee can be formed without a motion.
Excellent. And by recorded, I mean, we're on the recording for this meeting, so it's official.
Be in the minute.
And it'll be in the minutes. Excellent. All right, so I mean, that's where we stand for right now. But I think I'd love to open the dialogue. Obviously, Christina, Michelle, and Joanne, the 3 of you, I would think would be on a committee. And then if people want to volunteer now and or before the meeting tonight ends, we could put together a list of names beyond that. Does that sound good?
Yes. I'll be on the
you.
committee.
Okay, Terry says that she will. I'll help in any way that I can. I'm going to make a little list.
Jess, I think it just from a treasurer standpoint, I need to be on both to take a look at that, coming in. And as you're writing names down, I am still waiting for final confirmation from Patrick. So if we're going to be setting up the same type of line, I think this time, it sounds so, I'm sorry. This was a little emotional for me. So having set up the process, I think it will be, now that we know what we're doing, it will probably, I'll get some answers back a little bit faster, and I will get an email out to Patrick as soon as possible to also set up the paperwork for Wendy.
Okay, thank you, Allison. I think it does make sense to have you on the committee. So thank you for your willingness to do that.
I'm interested in being on the committee too.
Okay, Colleen, thanks so much. I'll add you as well. Okay, I mean, that's a good start. There's a good chance that maybe Sandy and Barb will want to at least assist in some way but I don't want to speak for them, but they are quick to volunteer, I think, in situations like this. So maybe we could expect their attendance also.
Just one comment on both, because I think that everybody that's involved has different thoughts on what the best part of each person was. And I think all of us maybe think a different thing was the best part, and that's not a bad thing. But sometimes when you go to honor somebody, you might need to narrow it down more than make it wide, unless you're going to do like different things. Because if you come up with 3 different things and they all could be the best part of that person, you might have a hard time making a decision about what to award the money to, kind of thing. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I was just thinking that when you were reading the stuff for Carol.
That's a fair point. Although I feel like that would be, in my opinion, a great problem to have, to have so many deserving candidates. Maybe we can keep that in mind, but also keep our options open.
Right.
And I do feel like in this regard, learning from the process with Carol, maybe we have to fine tune that as we go with Carol's and then see how that follows suit for Wendy's. But I do appreciate what you're saying, because if there are multiple deserving people, then what criteria do you use to choose between them? That can get tricky at a point. So, all right, thank you, Colleen. Jess, I see that you are also going to join us. Thank you for that. Terry, was that you? Was somebody trying to say something?
No, I just, this committee will make the determination then on the people that will receive. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and I think, I think moving forward, if there are any more logistics that we need to look at, as far as this is clearly an abundance of people within the organization, and yet you're looking to set this up maybe in conjunction with the organization. So if there's something where we need to take a look at who else would participate and what those parameters have to be, nothing's written in stone, so if that's what your comment was getting at, which I feel like is definitely worth mentioning.
Originally, this would just be a startup committee, and then I kind of understood afterwards that I'd be looking at who will be actually receiving these and how that's determined. So that's, as many, that'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And I think what we're showing here is we have a lot of people who are willing to help, but if you also had ideas about a direction that you want to go in, you're not limited to this either. We can keep that dialogue going, in my opinion. So, all right, well, thank you so much.
I just let Sandy Morley in.
Oh, hi, Sandy.
There she is.
Good evening. Sorry I'm late.
Glad to have you. And I see Marianne joined us too. How's it going, Marianne? All right, well, I think we're ready to segue from this part of the meeting on to the next piece of business. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be in communication via email and through Joanne from here on out, if that sounds good with regard to Wendy.
We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, so
Thank you very much.
Michelle and Christine, before you do leave, I will certainly share everyone's email. I wrote down who is involved, who wants to be involved. Okay, and I'll be sharing that with you. So we'll have an email bank for that.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Thank
you.
Good night. Thanks for joining. All right. Thanks so much, guys. I know sometimes these things take time, but I think they're well worth our time. And I think the question at the end was a valid one. Maybe we need to think about that and talk to Barb a little, because she's been chatting with the family, but at what point and who makes the decisions with regard to awarding the scholarship money is a good question. And it kind of goes back to Colleen's question of what if in a given year you have 2 or 3 worthy recipients. So these are all things we're still learning with regard to Carol's Memorial Scholarship. And so I think if her 2 friends from Niskayuna were starting this initiative, we don't want to feel like we're stepping on that, so I think we need to be respectful of that, as I know everyone in this group will be, but it's a point worth mentioning. So, okay. Having said that, we're going to move forward with the president's report. I feel like that's what we're up to. I don't think I've skipped over anything. At this point, the agenda, the CTLE, those are in the chat, but I know we've had 1 or 2 people who just joined, so I'm going to repost the agenda in the event that anybody needs it, and then we'll continue on from here. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to share my screen for now and see how this goes. And if it's easier not to, we'll go back to how we were doing it. There we go. There we go. Just kind of keeps me on track with what we need to do and keeps things moving along. Okay. All right. So we have already covered a few of the items here. Just a quick plug. We do have 2 reps still needed, exercise science and sports med and technology as well. So I always like to share that out. But as far as my report goes, in the last 2 weeks, we had both a zone breakout meeting and an executive council meeting. So I will do my best to give you succinctly what feels like the need to know information, given the fact that we do have some other reports from our other committees and groups tonight that I want to give some time to. So with regard to the zone breakout meeting, there were a few things mentioned, but I think the one that might be of most interest to the average member is that we're making decisions with regard to the PE learning standards posters. We are getting ready to send them to print. It was decided that they're going to be given out at the state conference. That's going to be the primary place for the rollout, with the hope that we will be able to hit the most people. Depending on how many go out versus how many people would still like one, we will look at zone conferences thereafter. The tricky part is that there are a few zones that have their conference before November, but they are going to figure out how to tackle that. They're going to use, they think, thin cardboard tubes to hand out with the posters so that they don't get crumpled before they make it back to people's classrooms. That was one plan. Or perhaps even some type of ribbon or rubber band to tie them up so that they could be rolled up, which would probably keep them in good shape for travel. There were 2 formats that we looked at, and one was definitely more succinct. All 6 standards, like completely aligned top to bottom, 1 through 6, whereas they were creative with another format, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it felt disjointed, and it felt like there was significance to the way they were laid out in pairs. So the whole committee said, let's keep it simple, 1 through 6. It's very pretty, it's colorful, and it's going to be a poster size, but not the biggest of poster sizes. So I don't think it was like a full 2x3, but it was the next size down, which would still be pretty big to hang in the gym. So initially, this is going to be given to members at no cost. And then if people are looking to get maybe a second or a third, if they teach in multiple spaces down the line, there was talk of having them available for purchase if people wanted more for any reason, or if something happened to it, I suppose. So that was exciting. We can expect to see those soon, just to get the word out with regard to the standards for display in gyms. Okay. Oh, there was one other piece. Here it is. You know what, let me back up a little bit. Here it is. The executive council meeting, which was last week, was lengthy and there was quite a bit going on. The most noteworthy piece was that moving forward, our Colleen Corsi, who does all the things and is so knowledgeable, is going to be stepping to part-time, and it's going to be a fewer days a week. And she's going to do some job sharing with Clancy. And some days are going to be in office. Clancy's going to actually be on sabbatical from his full-time job at the college. And so it's going to be like a 2-day, 3-day split. But Colleen was looking for some more like work-life balance. And people were a little nervous because she does everything and has all the answers and is such a fierce advocate. And she's just so knowledgeable, such a wealth of knowledge. But because the two of them have worked so closely together, it felt like a good way to kind of help her step down. And then if she ends up, retiring at a point, In the meantime, there's someone who knows what's going on. And so this was, they made very clear, going to be done on like a trial basis. And it's not necessarily how things are going to be moving forward. They could end up with somebody in the role full-time again. But they were going to decide if this pilot program was going to continue after, I want to say, they said it was going to be 8 months, an 8-month stretch. So that was pretty noteworthy because it's a change. And anytime there's a change like that, it's kind of a big deal. What else? They talked about how the CAGD2 trainings are going really well. They have done a number of different trainings at various conferences, some virtual, not all, but at the most recent virtual conference that we had at the state level, they had a session with about 30 or more participants, I believe. So that was good. Let's see. Daryl Daly, I believe we've talked about this before, but if you didn't already know, he is retiring from state ed. And although it would probably be a really good idea to fill that position, you know, immediately, or better yet, train someone before he leaves, they have to wait till it's a vacancy to post it, to transition a new person. So that was a little disappointing because as it is, that's the only position at the moment that's full at the state for what it's worth. We don't really have any insight on who will be replacing him because they can't even really transition someone until he's officially gone, according to what we heard. So that was a little surprising. There was talk about the push for the 2 health roles at the state level. And although they were not added to the budget, despite some really solid advocacy efforts, there is an ongoing conversation for how to get them into the next budget and actually have those roles be filled. Some suggestions for that were maybe that we need to include other groups to join our advocacy push. So someone mentioned like along the lines of like a PTO or something like that, to really make it even louder, coming from the people of New York State. Let's see. You've probably seen a number of things coming through with the SOAR initiative that Murphy Hayes is conducting. They have Member Mondays, the Tuesday tips, Who's That Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, and Flashback Friday. In addition to that, they also have different things going on at different times of the year. So for instance, in March, there was like members of the month, and Mackenzie was one of those members. They did a little shout out to about a dozen or so members, which I thought was very cool. So congrats to Mackenzie. Let's see. There was an ongoing discussion, as there often has been, about like different things going on in zones, co-presidents. It seems like it's going to be case by case. We've had that conversation so many times before, but it's mostly as needed. There was talk of like belonging to more than one zone for some of our college students if they go to school in one zone but reside in another. But all of those are conversations that just seem to be ongoing, like nothing, no decisions are made uniformly. I think the gist of a lot of the conversation was some of those decisions are made zone by zone, but the idea of possibly having the ability to be a part of 2 zones is something they will be talking about moving forward. So if anybody has ideas on that they want to send me, I would say via email, just to keep our conversation moving forward tonight. Any reason why it wouldn't be a good idea? It seemed like a lot of people, or most of the people, were in favor of that type of thing, so that they could actually have access to, let's say, Zoom links to 2 different zones if they wanted to. It seems like once you pick a lane, that's your zone and that's the one you belong to. And then you only get access to some things within the other zone. So they were looking to have like full access to multiple zones, if applicable, which it doesn't necessarily apply. But I guess they also said if somebody works in one zone and lives in another, not just college students, like if somebody travels a good distance for their employment. So that made sense. All right, the last piece that I want to share from my president's report, before we can get into other committee reports, I talked to you a few meetings ago about the Freihofer's Run, and then I just recently, again, spoke to Kristen Hislop. It is coming up soon. I don't want to misspeak on the date, so let me pull this up. I want to say it's June 4th. Yep. Okay. So she basically moving forward has, and I can give you access to these as PDFs in my, sometimes I send like a post-meeting email. This one, I don't know that you would need. The second one is more of a form you might hang up. But actually, no, that I misspoke. You would need this one because there's an interest form and a little bit of guidance for kind of putting together your team. This would have to be submitted by this Friday. So it would probably really only work for groups that already have a running club or already have access to a group of students, you know, that are on your team or are athletes within your district who might be willing, but they don't necessarily need to be some type of a team entity to sign up under you as a team for this. It could be anyone from your, you know, school district in any capacity. There's the junior 3K. So this was kind of the longer race. And then I want to say the other one she had mentioned was just the 1 mile fun run. But this seems to be the bigger event. They did talk about how moving forward, this is kind of the first year of many where they want to revisit and pump up the interest for this type of thing. And I did share all of the insights that we talked about. It was either last meeting or the one before, to kind of keep this dialogue going down the line. But this flyer I can send out to you if you did want to take a look at it and or share it within your schools. There's actually one other as well, which is right here. And this is more like a publicity flyer, I would say. Let's see. There it goes. And look who there is right there on the top, our very own Brandon. This one's a little more succinct if you were going to hang it up, if you wanted to drum up interest. So it's soon and people are busy, but if you have access to a group where, you know, it might fit for your group, give it some consideration. Everybody gets the free cookies. They also get a t-shirt, and then there's additional awards and prizes and giveaways. But most of all, it's a fun day, and the goal is to promote lifelong love of physical activity. Okay. So for me, that's it for my president's report. I am ready to jump into our section reports if nobody has any questions about that. All right, I don't think I need to share the screen so much for this one anymore, so I'll get out of that. But in the meantime, first up is going to be Jess Arini. Let's see. For adapted.
I just have a couple things. Hold on, sorry. First thing is, here you go. The unified semifinals are next week and the finals are the week after. That stuff will be worked out at some point. And then I did talk to Ryan Miller again. I know I brought this up like a few meetings ago, but him and I did talk to Pete. But I do want to open it up again to other people that they are trying to make a new phys ed curriculum for 3 through, and I'm just reading an email right now, for 3rd through 5th grade with and without intellectual disabilities. They have one for 2 through like ages 2 through 7 and a sample coaching guide, but they want like interns. So Ryan and I have been talking to Pete about getting interns for Special Olympics in the fall. I think that conversation will keep going after next week, but we're still looking for kids. So if you know kids that are looking for hours, or you have students that are like in colleges, like that have graduated and they need some type of like hours for their classes or whatever, they are looking for actual like college kids going to school for phys ed to help build a PE curriculum for grades 3 through 5. He currently has people in human development and he just wants phys ed majors. So that's a suggestion that he asked me to ask other people, and I just lost the meeting, so hold on, there it is. Okay, so that was that. I think that's it. And then also I know I mentioned it last time, we're doing our first 5K color run for Special Olympics on June 18th. in Amsterdam. So, you know, if anyone's not busy that weekend, June 18th, we're doing 5K Run for Inclusion. So if anybody wants to join, let me know. I think that was it.
I don't know why that keeps happening. Where is the run on the 18th?
It's in Amsterdam at Shuttleworth Park.
Oh, that sounds like it's going to be fun. All right, thanks, Jess. Colleen is up next for aquatics.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm driving, that's why. My son's holding the phone. There are not a lot of classes listed for lifeguarding in that at this point juncture. Merrick McDonald is the president of the aquatics for the next year for AFERD, New York State AFERD. She runs a company called Upstate Aquatics. So if you know anybody who is interested in getting lifeguarding or something like that, that's an avenue to check. I know in Amsterdam, we're going to be working with the county and we're going to do something called Tiny Tadpoles. And we have the program that we have over there that I started 10 or 11 years ago. So if you know of anybody who is interested in finding out how a program runs that they might want to bring back to their community, I'd be more than willing to talk to somebody or have them come out for that. And that's pretty much all I've got. Except for Whales Tales is the Red Cross curriculum that you can find it online. It's not teaching swimming, but it's teaching some safe stuff around water and stuff. So it, you know, like as you're getting ready for your field days or those really hot days in June, with your health or phys ed, that's a nice thing to be able to go up with younger kids. And that would be it for aquatics.
All right, thanks, Colleen. Jess has one more thing, so I'm going to double back to Jess real quick.
That's fast, I forgot. Also, this Wednesday, we're doing like a live streamed unified basketball game at 1 o'clock. It's like an assembly for like our whole school inclusion. So like the whole school is able to watch it. So if anybody wants to see, like if they don't have unified basketball at their school and they kind of want to see like what it looks like or whatever, it will be live streamed on our GASD YouTube page. Tip-offs at 1.
All right, thank you. And thank you, Sandy, for the website and the chat if people want to take a look. We had talked about it, I want to say at the last meeting or the one before. I couldn't remember the distance for the little kids. So it starts as small as 100 meters. It does sound like a really great event. So if people are free on that weekend, and all the same, if people are free on the 18th for Jess's event, there's so much to do. And most importantly, both of the events are about making it fun for kids, which is what we want them to embrace. So thank you, Sandy. All right, after that, we have Joelle, if you have a report for the coaches section, that would be great.
So I don't have anything to report, but I do have a couple of questions. Does anybody know who the state rep for coaching is that I can get in contact with to get information from?
So off the top of my head, I don't know, but I know where we can find out, so I can get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else know?
I'll look it up while you're
Pretty
talking.
sure it's Kevin Yarnell, right?
No, it's Steve Yarnell, Kevin's dad.
Yeah, his dad, Steve Yarnell.
I was going to say Yarnell sounds familiar, but okay, so Steve Yarnell. And if you go onto the New York State AFERD website, most of the people who hold those positions, their contact info is right on there, linked to their name and often a picture. So on our New York State AFERD website. And if not, maybe we
I
can
will
get
do
the
that. Thank
email
you.
before the meeting's out. Of course, yeah, no, that's great. All right. So next up then is, I don't have a report from Ashley for Council of Administrators. I don't have a report from Brandon for dance. Colleen, you gave us the aquatics report. Do you have more to add for equity, diversity, and inclusiveness?
Yes, June is Pride Month. So anything you can do to highlight people who are in the LGBT community and their successes, I think would be a nice thing to add. And I know sometimes that there's some controversy with that, but I think that our students that fall into that community are identifying in that way or questioning wherever they are. It's important for them to know too that There's people that are adults that are really involved in things. And I think that for phys ed help, we cover everybody in the building most frequently. So if we put something out there, we're going to cover more kids being exposed to it than someone else might. Like a second grade teacher just has their class. We have the whole elementary or the middle school. So just some thoughts on that. I know that, we have field days and that kind of stuff coming up. So you might be able to add a little bit of that in there too. And even a little bit is a big deal. And that's all I've got on that.
Thanks, Colleen. All right, Terry, you're up next for elementary PE.
All right, so I'm getting together my my end of the year newsletter for May and June. And my updates, I have Sally Schultz, SCHULTE from Missouri. She was the 2019 Missouri Shape Elementary Toy and Central District Elementary Toy. So she's coming to the state conference. And you can find her on Twitter. She posts a lot of really good activities. And I also contacted somebody that I follow, Susan Tyner. She's coming to us from Texas, and she has not been a shape toy, but the things that she posts on Twitter are for elementary PE they just knock my socks off. So I investigated a little bit further and I contacted her, and she's going to make this trip. She has received like a 2019-2020 elementary teacher of the year in her school district. But other than that, this is like a big to-do for her to present at a state conference. So I'm really excited to get her. Again, it's Susan Tyner, and her Twitter handle is @TynerTyners, TYNER. She's fantastic. So other than that, Open National Field Day, Open has a ton of really great resources. So you should investigate elementary PE teachers that are sponsoring one. Chromebooks for Health and Physical Education also has a section where you can search, a search option. And I typed in field day resources and there's so many. So I included that. The Monday morning campaign, Jess, since you allowed me to share my screen, I'm just gonna go right to my newsletter because you guys gotta see this. All right, awesome. So this is what my newsletter is starting to look like. Let's see if I can get in here and get to it. Oh, there's Susan. Sorry, just gonna go back up. There's Susan, and Sally was the first one. Okay, so we'll go down a little bit. Come on, the computer's a little slow. There's Open National Field Day, Chromebooks for Health and PE. Okay, the Monday campaigns. So they do a Move It Monday. Sorry, I'm gonna use my finger. A De-Stress Monday. So be where you are, look no further than the present moment to reduce stress, use mindfulness to separate yourself from the past and future worries. So in addition to showing this on my screen to my students, I will read some more information that they supply on their website. And I've done this every Monday for like 4 months now. And the kids, and I do it on Tuesday because I don't see the kids on Monday, I see them on Tuesday. And they actually stop, you could hear a pin drop and they listen to it. So I think I'm helping people. And I tell the kids, if I'm not helping you, I'm helping myself, because some Mondays I think they made it just for me. And then anyways, this Move It Monday is another part of their campaign. So I'll read to them about mindful walking as well. So I thought those were really good things to share, and it's all free. You get a newsletter every Monday, and every Monday, like I said, I use their stuff. I am also gonna plug in this is a 4-corner cone flip challenge I found on Twitter by Mike Graham. I didn't get the picture to work yet, but I will. And then you can see I just left myself some spaces. And then I always plug Fit Sanford for quick tips to refresh your PE class. They listed, I found this one, find a friend, an idea for grouping. Simply ask the students to find a friend who has the same birth month as you, birth date as you, eye color, just to change it up every once in a while and find something in common with other people. And then I was just gonna list all the Twitter handles for the zones to get people to start checking them out. I'm gonna stop the share. And I'll probably have a few more things in there, but that's what I have so far for elementary PE.
That's awesome, Terry. Thank you. Those De-Stress Monday and Move It Monday look fantastic. And I love that they look forward to it. It lets you know that it's making a difference. So that's pretty cool. All right. So let's see. We are up to Pete for higher ed.
Higher ed. So EdTPA is no more as a part of teacher certification. That includes all graduates who just finished programs in New York State, as well as those who may have graduated previously and never completed. It is no longer a requirement. Instead, in about a year, New York State has said that institutes of higher education will be responsible for something similar to what EdTPA used to be. There was something else. I'm letting you know that also through the state, I don't know how much everybody pays attention to this, but the state is moving ahead. They have it out for public comment with residency programs and updating what residency programs need to do to be approved in institutes of higher education. So residency program, if you're unfamiliar, very similar to the medical model, where a teacher candidate is embedded in a school for a period of time longer than the traditional 14 weeks, can be a minimum of a year, but could be up to 2 years. Currently at Russell Sage, we have a residency program that we pair with the Classroom Academy through the Wishy-Bosies, and our students are paired with a highly qualified teacher for 2 years, and they are dual certified childhood special ed. The reason I'm mentioning it here in health and phys ed is it's something to think about, that there may be different models from higher ed approaching the schools to look for highly qualified teachers to support this type of endeavor. They've talked about it for a long time in education about why don't we do things more like the medical model, right? We don't go to a doctor who only trains for 7 or 14 weeks. How come teachers only have that? But it's coming fast and furious, and it sounds like the federal government is further behind this. If you're not too aware, something else to keep in mind is that being a teacher is now recognized as an official apprenticeship. So typically they're reserved in the trades, but I think it's it's either New York State Labor or federal government, one of the two of them recognized teaching as an apprenticeship. So because it's an apprenticeship model, it opens up further funding for students in education in residency type programs. So it's not, I know of none in physical education and health education at the current moment, but I can imagine that we're probably going to see these things coming down in the next 3 to 5 years as folks change jobs. We have a continued teacher shortage and things of that nature. So there's lots of information coming out from the regions around education in general that sometimes impacts what we do, sometimes doesn't. So I just wanted to give folks a heads up on those things, but other than that, no report.
Question on that. Is there any talk about trying to raise salaries? Because educators are already, with people with equal education, we're already making way less. So now they're going to expect them to do residencies like doctors, which is great. But when they're done, doctors make more money. Is there anything they've talked about with that?
Not that I've seen any talk about that. That's very district by district. But what I will tell you is that in the residency programs, they are paid. They're not paid a whole lot. They're stipend positions, but there is compensation. That's very different than a traditional student teaching experience where they're not paid. There's other avenues too for graduate students where, and again, I don't really see them in phys ed or health ed, but there are opportunities there through what's known as an internship certificate to help with the training of teachers and paid positions and things of that nature.
Pete, one last question. When you say for the program that's elementary ed and special ed, they do a 2-year apprenticeship, full-time?
Full-time.
And do they take classes alongside that or only up till that point?
They take them alongside that.
Interesting.
And summer courses. Yep. And we're not the only place that has a residency model. SUNY Plattsburgh has a residency. I think there's another place. Well, Clarkson, which is, used to be Union here locally. They have their residency. And I think maybe Excelsior is one that we all kind of partner with the Classroom Academy, which is an entity through Wishy. And, if it's really up and coming, hope, if you want to learn more, if you're talking to your administrators about, hey, I heard about this, do you know anything? They want to learn more, put them in contact with me. I'll put them in contact with the Classroom Academy, which, we've been leading the way here in this, but it's coming fast and furious, which I think is good for us. It's a better way to train.
Thank you. No, I always appreciate your perspective because it's never good when we're the last to know. So I appreciate you letting us know ahead of time.
Sorry, real quick, I forgot something. In case you know anybody looking to teach in higher ed, I'm looking for a full-time assistant professor in physical education and health education. That just got posted last week. And I think that's it for right now.
Pete, will you send that to the central office so they can post it on the website?
Yes, I can send that to central office. Yep.
Good thinking, Sandy. All right, thanks so much, Pete. Jill, you're up for the health section report.
Perfect timing. My kids just went to bed. So I shared the doc with Jen. I could also share my screen here too. It's mostly links and a list. And if you guys check them out in the minutes and things like that. So I don't know the best way to do it. I can reshare it to the chat if people want to see it. I know I mentioned this last month, but May being Mental Health Awareness Month. If you aren't aware of it, Mahaney's is doing free community webinar series. I'll be honest with you, they're sort of in the middle of the day and it's a little bit tricky. I try to do it around a lunchtime kind of thing. I don't know if they're going to be recorded, but there's some pretty awesome ones coming up. And like I said, they're free. There's also the event guide. If you want to do something, every Friday in May, I'm doing something small with mental health with my classes just to keep the conversation going. Obviously it's out there because it should be talked about. But there is an article, actually, I was going to share it. Jen, I meant to email it to you today. It's called The Letter to College Sports. Obviously, with everything going on, I think every teacher, coach, PE teacher, health teacher, honestly, anybody in education with kids should read it. And the one line it says right at the beginning is we have to put the person before the student and the athlete. Otherwise, we are at risk of losing all three. It's an incredible article. It's a pretty cool podcast. I'm a big podcast person, but if you have a drive or whatever the case may be, highly recommend it. It's pretty powerful. May is also a really busy month for some other things. It's also National Adolescent Health Month. And I linked information there. It's also Sex Ed for All Month, just talking about it's okay to have the conversation about sex ed kind of thing, and making sure that people are getting, or students are getting, the appropriate information. And then another really cool thing, I have actually tried to implement this into my health classes at the middle school level. I'm now doing it at the high school level, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But it was actually written, it's a blog, but it's about how you can use cartoons and comics to sort of have these different kind of conversations, or to teach kids about tougher topics, whether it's mental health, it's sex ed, it's nutrition, it's physical activity, but it's a really different way. And they basically tell a story through this. And so it's a really cool article. They give you some great resources in there. There is the annual school health conference put on by ASHA. They are doing it differently this year. It's in person, but if you can't attend, it's in another state, I can't remember what state. They're also doing it online, which I thought was really cool. So that's linked in there. And then if anyone's been on the AFERD website lately, did anyone see the Lift project? They're actually, so I signed up for it. I'm really excited. And so it's basically a way to not only take care of ourselves, but it's, and the focus is on mental health again. But it's something that there's resources available to other people, and they're for AFERD members, it's completely free, which I think is incredible. It's $99 for other people. But as AFERD members, I mean, you can take these resources and do a million things with it. And then again, the New York State AFERD Foundation, the grant opportunity. I mean, applications aren't even due until the end of September. And whether it's for PD, it's for supplies, as a health and PE person, whatever the case may be. I'm gonna say 11, I think. And then I just posted, if you have any extra time, I know we're all super busy, but there's a becoming an askable adult, something that I pride myself on as a teacher. I have with kids, I think you have to be an askable adult. They need to know that they can come to you and talk to you and be a trusted adult kind of thing. There is a Students in Action. Actually, it sort of piggybacks what Terry was talking about. I do mindfulness Mondays every Monday with my kids, but this is a little bit different. And so that's in there.
You're muted right now.
And the way they talk about health, mental health, sex, all of it is portrayed really differently. And I think there's so many different misconceptions out there. So figuring out a way to have those conversations. But like I said, it is all linked in there. I feel like I could probably list 20,000 other things, but I feel like I'm always really long-winded. So I will leave it at that. But like I said, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, or want further information on it, of course you can reach out to me, but I tried my best to make sure everything was linked correctly to where you needed to go for more information. So.
Thank you so much, Jill. I think Jen shared the link that you had shared with her. And if you could just go in and make the document shareable to all who have the link, because you mentioned some really great things. The LIFT project is right through our own New York State AFERD website, like you said, and it is so cool that you basically see it. Everybody else pays, X amount, and it's free for our members. So if you're looking for a member benefit, even if you use one piece of it for one lesson, it's literally free. So that and all of the others that you mentioned, I can't wait to check those out on your doc too. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm changing the settings right now. So if you just refresh in just a second, it should be fine.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. So that brings us to, we have nobody for exercise science, but we're back to Terry for recreation, leisure, adventure.
It's all set. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm gonna say go geocaching because we're still getting lots of hits with ours for the capital zone. So check out geocaching.com. So that's a good thing because we put that in June of 2020. I think we're past 58 people that have visited from all over. Not just the area, the world, no, not the world, but more than just New York State. So I think that's exciting. Okay, you can visit, here's something for those of you that don't have your own kayaks, upstatekayacrentals.com. You can book self-serve rentals. They have them all throughout our area, around Lake, Waterford, Half Moon, and so on. And you can see what's available, when it's available, and pay directly through the site. Definitely check out All Trails app. I'm still doing my 52 hike challenge, and it's not a big deal. It's one hike a week, but anyways, it's so much fun to find someplace new to go. There's a lot of hidden gems around. You can also check out the DEC website as far as state parks, find out what they offer, and before you go anywhere. Other than that, I didn't have much more for recreation.
That's awesome, Terry. I can't believe you get to one hike a week. Good for you. That's fantastic. That brings us to Sandy for retirees, which I feel like you told me no report via email, Sandy, but if you have anything to chime in with now.
I don't have anything for the retirees.
Oh, but you did have foundation. That's right.
Yep, I don't have anything for for the foundation, just that applications are open for the grants for this year. through the end of September. So those are active now. And I just really had a question for Pete while you're here. I had the chance to work with some Cortland fourth year students, and we're talking about the National Academy for Health and Physical Literacy, and they didn't know anything about it. So I'm curious from you, Pete, too, at some time we should talk about what are we sharing with our undergraduates? Are we talking about SHAPE? Are we talking about the Academy? Or what are we doing? What are you doing?
We're talking about SHAPE and local, state level professional organizations. And a big reason for that is because for a long time, SHAPE was tied to CAPE accreditation, which gave us accreditation for our programs. At Sage, we no longer, so SHAPE is what's known as a SPA, a special program something. And so SHAPE connects with CAPE, and when you have alignment with those, then your program, that's where your PET, your phys ed, teacher ed, and your health ed, teacher ed standards, that's where they live. They live with SHAPE. So the Academy doesn't, or didn't, to my knowledge, have those PET heat standards. And that's why, that's the direction, at least at Sage, we were going. We're no longer CAPE accredited. We don't, if you really want to know the truth of the matter, it's we don't pay CAPE to have that accreditation because it's quite costly. We're accredited now through AAQEP, which more and more institutions are going through because the accreditation process is much more transparent and easier. I don't want to say easier to navigate, but it's a better process, really, is what it comes down to. And AAQEP is the accrediting body that a number of schools of education have switched to. Some wholeheartedly, some are still CAPE, depends on where you are. So we're not really talking about other organizations, and really New York State AFERD is aligned, the last time I checked, to SHAPE. So that's kind of where we're going, but we are also always looking to see what are the trends. Like a few years ago, I wasn't talking about open at all. And then as soon as we joined here, we start to talk more and more about open. Like Mackenzie probably doesn't remember us talking much about open at all, but if you ask some of the graduates now, we've started to incorporate open a little bit more too. So, it really depends. Always happy to have folks come in, especially in the fall with our secondary methods course, because that's really where a lot of that stuff is being addressed.
I just want to share with you that until through June, the Academy is offering a $15 undergraduate membership, which may go away. So if you can blast that out to your students, if they're interested, I think they're going to have some choices. That's all. So, and I have really nothing else. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you, Sandy. Let's see, middle school, high school PE, Megan, what do you have for your report?
Hello, sorry about that. All I have is the Planet Fitness is running free memberships for the summer for kids 14 to 19 years old, and I'll add the link to that.
Cool. Did you say 14 and up?
14 to 19, and it's available until August 31st. So it's like a free summer membership.
That's awesome.
And the registration starts today.
That's fantastic. I mean, what a good incentive. All right. Thank you, Megan. Nobody for tech at the moment. Mackenzie, do you have anything for future professionals?
I don't currently have anything to report. Their last webinar was at the end of May.
All right, cool. Well, thank you. That brings us to the committee reports. And I know we've had a couple of big things going on. So we'll start with high school student leadership. Ken and Meg, do you want to share out your report for that?
Meg was the leader of that. I'll let her put it all together or talk about it.
All I have to say is all of the awards were mailed out. We did have one mistake with a spelling of a name. That plaque was just or the nameplate was just redone. And that's all I really have. Everything should be completed with that on our side.
That sounds good. Thank you so much, guys, for all the hard work that you did and putting everything together and putting the bios together and all of that. Meg, I know that you sent that to Lisa today. Did you see that she's out on vacation for a little bit? Are they giving the plaque before we pay, or are they waiting for the payment?
Oh, no, they'll give it out. They'll hand it and then pay it after.
If they reach out to you, it could be a little bit of a delay because she's got like, I think, a 10-day trip or something. So as long as it's not crazy time sensitive, if it is, maybe we should forward it on to like Justin Ecke or someone else just for right now.
The awards by Walsh is usually good for like up to 30 days.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Great. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Mackenzie. The Future Professionals webinar was in end of April, not May. Yeah, we're not there yet, right? Just really counting those days till the end of the school year. All right. And let me just double check here. Meg just has a little message about the AD of the school just came back. So they're working on a PO. She didn't forget. So if you didn't see that. All right. So thanks again for your work on those awards. And how about the elementary middle school awards, Tamara and Colleen?
So we should be giving out or sending the email later on this week that will include the video, the president's letter. We did a PDF certificate this year. We went to Guilderland Printing and they are doing a nice one like they used to, since there was an issue with the certificate from last year. And then there'll also be included that edible mini program for teachers to use. T-shirt pickup, Colleen, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the t-shirts will be ready next week. So
I just got word back on that. I'll talk about that with you later. It seems like there may be a problem with printing supplies. I don't know, more travel stuff, but we'll take care of it. Look, I think the schedule was by the end of the week, we give a date like where we thought we would do the pickup at Westmere again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just ordered the envelopes and the stickers to put on stuff before we got onto the meeting. So we're doing good in process.
All right. So we were shooting for the weekend of June 4th and 5th, since I am not around the weekend afterwards. So hopefully we'll like solidify a time. If anyone wants to come hang out with us as usual, we would like that. But we'll figure it out and I'll send out an email to all of our normal people that do that. So yeah, next year I talked to Hudson Valley and I scheduled it for May 8th, not May 1st, because the state testing is Tuesday, May 2nd. So figured that would be a smart move to do. So hopefully we'll be in person for next year. And just thinking about next year, I'll be 100% honest. I am extremely nervous because so many people who have helped us in the past are no longer with us or are not active members in the zone. So, and they were pretty big shoes to fill. So like,
if anybody, like definitely Bob, behind the scenes with the certificates, that's something that someone else was supposed to take over and that didn't happen. And then COVID happened. So that is huge. If anybody is interested in helping with that, I think that's one of the biggest holes I see.
Yeah, Nick was helping Bob back when Bob was doing the certificates, but as we know, Nick hasn't been around. And then Elise was going to be also doing a large chunk of that. So if anyone is tech savvy and can help out in that regard, that would be great. The other thing is just the rink. It might be time to really start thinking if there's a different way of doing that, because that is a very large job. And
what did you say? I didn't hear what you said.
When the students line up in the ice skating rink to have the processions to come in, that's probably honestly like the biggest job to put together and organize. And I don't know how Bob did it, and he shared that information with the others that aren't really here anymore. So I'm just a little stressed thinking about next year. So maybe if we still want to do that, it would be great for somebody to take the reins on that specific department, or if we start thinking of an alternative way to do things, it might be that time, since it's been over 3 years. So just
Tamara, I was just going to say two things. One, I agree. Maybe it's time to look at something different. Let's be creative. And if we do find one or two people that would take that over, I know that Colleen Mickle and Deb Wine would absolutely sit down with them and show them how they created it, which is what was taken over. So two options there, to find, I would suggest two people, not one, two people as a team to take that over, that entry, line up and entry, or a small group to really think, how can we do this a bit differently so that we can make those awards smooth and it can still have the same dynamics of that entry does have an impression on the kids and the parents. So, but I'm game for helping to just brainstorm.
I think too, that to be honest, that's probably something we want to start looking at, like maybe take a field trip to Hudson Valley over the summer to start talking about, because hopefully having it there is a given. Like we've spent 3 years doing the things we've done, and we're ready to go back. But I mean, like, if there's anybody, Tamara, I don't know what you're thinking, but even just to go and check it out and like brainstorm and talk about that, I think even as early as July one time, or August maybe, and not a lot, but just, like maybe we take an afternoon and go visit and look at stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely like to still have it at Hudson Valley, just because they've done it for so long. And since it is such a transition between like the helpers that are going to be there, at least they know their job and their end, and everything's smooth with Hudson Valley. So it would just be more of us putting everything together,
right,
to make it more smooth. So
in the chat, Mary Ann's been kind enough to offer to join you guys. And I
yes.
And
absolutely.
I like the idea of getting, multiple people. Even if Sandy, I'm the names that you mentioned sound so familiar. Are they still friends of yours? Is that how you know that they would be willing to come in and show?
Yeah, they're Guilderland retirees, but I'm in contact with them. But they're the ones that took over the program when I stepped away. And they orchestrated that, the ice rink in terms of who follows who, and how to set it up with, the organization there. So I know they would be happy to sit down and go over that.
I almost feel like it might be beneficial to have one or both of them go to Hudson Valley on whatever day you might choose in the summer, if you get a little crew together, because I think sometimes the anxiety comes from the uncertainty, and nobody wants to be thinking about that, the night before or the day out. Like, I agree with Colleen, maybe something ahead of time where you can start to work out some of those plans with multiple people in the conversation, so that, lots of hands can make light work with regard to that. Mary Ann, looks like you have your hand up. What would you like to share?
Mary Ann, before you share, Mary Ann is helping us with all of the sponsorship stuff. Excuse me. I think I requested you guys to take off Jody Fowler from the list a couple meetings ago and add Mary Ann. So if that could happen, that would be great. And Mary Ann, I really, really appreciate your help moving forward.
Yeah, sure. And I'll be willing to go if you go in July, and I'm around. I'll gladly go and check out Hudson Valley. And I can share, after looking at it, maybe how we lined up and did our procession for Southeastern Zone. Maybe it will be helpful. Maybe it's the same as you used to use. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I will share and we can tweak it from there.
That's awesome.
I think another thing that's important that we need to make sure we do, and I don't know, maybe every other group should do this too, but I guess Carol and Wendy make me think more of this. We need to write down some of what we're doing so that there's a document somewhere where, in case somebody's going to take it over, it doesn't end up just being like, we're fortunate with Deb and Colleen, because I remember like getting all nervous sometimes and having to call them, and they were in the middle of their workday, and I think they were still doing everything by paper when they started out. but like to have some written down stuff of everything that is entailed in the process of this award ceremony, and that so that it's easier to pay when we do at some point pass it on to somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, we've made progress in some regards. We have our Google folders for other aspects of what we do, but I think some of the nervousness comes from exactly what you're talking about, you know, trying to make sure we're doing it with credence and doing it the same way or building upon what we've done. You could even think about filming like a talk, you know, a video talk over what it is and explain it. And then we could drop that into the folder, you know, just so it's there. Even if anybody needs a refresh between, you know, 2023 and 24, how do we do it again? You know, or to just show it or share it with the people we're going to help out. So not everybody has to go physically there. You just make a little video when you go in July. I'm just putting that out there. Okay.
Jess.
All good. Yeah, go ahead, Allison. Sorry, I didn't see you.
To that point, if anyone wants, I've been housing, when I started my presidency role, I started the Google Drive, and past presidents still have access to it. The current president does. And I've been housing documents of anything that we've been doing. So if anyone wants to send me that, it could be a photo. You could take a picture, and at least then I can throw it in the drive. We have it, and people that need access to it get access to it. So I'd be more than happy to take any of those documents and put it in there.
Absolutely.
I can share. I
Terry
have
Terry
my own
has her
Google
hand up.
Drive folder, so I can share that with you at some point, Allison.
Thanks, Terry.
I was going to say I'd be willing to help Marianne too. I'd be one of those persons to help organize the kids in the ice arena. I've seen it. But I definitely want to meet with Deb Wine and who I forgot the two.
Colleen Mickle.
Right, Colleen Mickle.
Yeah,
How can
Colleen Mickle.
I know exactly who they are and what they did. But also I want you to know that my Gracie graduated Hudson Valley this past weekend. And where do the graduates line up? In the ice arena. So it not only works for our award ceremony, that's what they do for their graduates. And they do the same procession in and out. They just set it up on the side, but they did 4 graduations to, you know, ease the burden of COVID and all that. But anyways, I'd be happy to help out too, since I'm there anyhow.
I also have a pretty good idea of how that procession worked, Tam and Colleen, so I'll help facilitate that. We also, just as a reminder, it was Carol Atkins that used to sell the stickers. So that's a position that we have open now. Okay. And pictures, Wendy took all the pictures.
Yeah.
All right, so we're not going to leave you hanging, is what we're saying, but let's make those plans sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. What a great group. Okay, Joanne, what would you like to share for the awards?
Okay, not much of a report, but just to say that our amazing person, Colleen McCurd, will be receiving her award in November on the Thursday evening of the conference. And Colleen has been contacted, yes, from central office. So yeah, we're moving right along with that.
And Colleen, did you send your form back? Since I have you here live, so I don't have to email you. They sent it out
No, I
to you.
didn't, because I got it after school ended, so I haven't done anything with it yet.
Oh, just today. Okay, perfect. So I'm just checking in. But if we could get that back to them in the next few weeks, then they're gonna love the capital zone because I don't think they even have names from some zones. But in all seriousness, okay. So thank you, Joanne, and congrats to Colleen. That's exciting. Okay, Terry, did you have anything you wanted to share for the zone conference today?
So yeah, we're just looking towards, you know, being in person March 2023 at Sage, Thursday, March 9th. I already have secured a few presenters because we had to cancel our webinars because of low attendance. But please start thinking about people that we need to contact that you want to see at our conference, because
Date again?
Yeah.
Date again?
Yeah.
The date is now
Thursday, March 9th, 2023. and we want to be in person. And when I submitted the proposal for the budget to Allison, I did not, and this was Allison's guidance, so thank you. I did not put in for a gift because I have an abundance of leftovers from the 2 previous. So they're just gonna get, you know, whatever we had left over. So we're trying to save some expenses there. We can still talk about if we're going to serve a big lunch and breakfast. I still put in for the regular amounts, but if we wanna try and scale it back, I think we can. We haven't had it in 2 years. Now's the time to change things up. So that committee, we should meet soon. I'll look at, I don't know, sending you guys all an email and seeing if we can do a quick Zoom or something to get some ideas started.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Good idea on reusing the gifts that we have, because they're good gifts, and then sometimes they're either broken or used or whatever by this point, and people want the same thing again. Those cups were awesome with the straws. They were my favorite. So I'm putting in a plug, put one of those aside for me. All right, so that sounds good. The last piece was just the capital zone grants. I don't know how much there is to say about those today. Anybody want to share anything?
Nothing to say. Apply. Shortest report ever.
One word, write that down, Jen. Alrighty, guys, so another announcement, if anybody wasn't on here at the beginning, and then of course we'll do anything left for the good of the order if there's more, but the next meeting is going to be, you know, technically a meeting. We'll do our budget report and we'll discuss any pertinent business, but it's also going to be a chance for us to hopefully enjoy some sunshine, and if not, there's a backup party room, they assured me. We're going to be at Ponchos in Clifton Park because it's right near Octay. So we figured that was a good central location, and somebody, I forget who, suggested it at our April meeting, and I called and they were able to have a reservation for us. So that's all set up. And yeah, I'm excited because we haven't done anything like this in a long time. Sandy.
Pete, I just want to I sent you a email. You got that? And Joanne has an announcement for new business.
What's the date for the last meeting?
Oh, it's for June 13th.
Okay.
We had it scheduled, I'm glad you asked that, Colleen, for a 6 o'clock start, because we had always typically done like a potluck type thing and then business meeting. So I did make the reservation for 6, because if it's a beautiful sunshiny night and we can get there by 6, but maybe people trickle in, then we do the business at like, 6:30. I figured people would be happy to get home sooner. Is there anybody who has any reservations about that? I kept it at 6, but I can always.
I think actually that probably works pretty good, because for the most part, the states for track will be over then. And so I think most of the other state competition would be over athletically. And I think coaching is the reason why we usually run later.
Okay, so if we need to, we can just kind of have people begin to arrive at 6. And then if we need to wait 20 minutes or so before we do any kind of budget report, that works. But I'll keep it at 6 for now, unless anything changes dramatically. And I see Sandy dropped something in the chat. I'm guessing that's what Joanne wanted to talk about. So Joanne?
Yeah, I mean, Sandy, you can certainly mention this as our rep from the Capital Zone. We have a golf outing plan for this summer. It's Team Wendy, and we're very thrilled that it's going to be August 12th. We're really emphasizing a day of fun, and you don't have to be a fantastic golfer. It's just to get out there and really love life for a day, as Wendy has done. Sandy,
This will be going, we're going to send a blast out to Capital Zone members. I'll get it over to the office tomorrow for people who are interested.
I'm going to share it. I just pulled it up. So here is the flyer, which I'm guessing is what you're going to send out August 12th. That's fantastic in Schenectady.
Yeah, and the other emphasis is that if you cannot attend the golf portion of it, there's going to be a buffet around 2:30, so you can come for that, the food aspect of it, and cash bar there. If the day does not work for you at all, but you'd like to financially support this with a donation, we'd be happy to do that as well. We will be looking for whole sponsorships. So, you know, maybe the Capital Zone perhaps would be interested in sponsoring a whole for that.
Cool. This looks great. I'm just reading it over. Awesome. Thanks for your work on that. That's going to be a nice thing to honor Wendy. All right. Let me just stop sharing my screen so I can check. I think I see a couple hands. Allison.
I now remember where the motion, when we were talking about the motion, it came up when we were talking about funding for
Yes.
Carol.
Now I remember.
So, and now thinking about a donation for Wendy, yes, we would. And personally, we can handle it. And that's what our mutual funds are for. So just throwing
So
that
let
out
me
there.
back it up. Two separate things. Before we adjourn tonight, we can do a motion for a donation for the golf. I'm with you on that. However, when we say, oh, take care, Mackenzie, if she hasn't already left. When we say a motion for the funding for Carol, the money had come from the family. So we were at one point talking about what we would contribute, but then we didn't. So how does that work?
That's what I'm talking about. So we had talked about the funding for Carol. There was, you know, Bev had communicated that there was 5,000 and then there was the 1,000, but in order to secure the full line and what we need to start awarding scholarships, it needs to be at 7,500. So we are still 1,000 away from that goal, where in Wendy's situation, which was mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, it is the 75 minimum would be covered by the family. And as I wrote down in the note, with potential additional, we just don't know what that additional is yet. So, and I wouldn't want to pressure anyone to find out that number or anything, because I think everyone would probably agree it's whatever people feel comfortable with giving. So I think the goal is to get to 7,500, correct me if I'm wrong, for each individual in order to then be able to self-fund, and then any additional funding that came in for the two separate scholarships, we could then reevaluate, see what money is generated, and then the amount that is awarded could change and fluctuate depending on what is in the account.
So yeah, so at this point, I don't know that we need a motion on any of that just yet. We're just gonna
Right.
kind of wait and see how that shakes out.
But if the Capital Zone were to contribute any funding, which I'm sure we will, towards both separate scholarship opportunities, it would be two separate motions with dollar amounts when we are ready to do that.
Okay, Sandy?
Two thoughts, or one, it's probably time that we talk about precedent. You know, how are we going to address losses like this? You know, consistently and fairly within our budget. That's a conversation that Allison needs to be in. And then I'm wondering whether a couple of people, Jess and Allison and Joanne maybe, or anybody else who was interested in talking a little bit about the scholarships themselves, like how they're going to be run. Would you be willing to stay on for just a few minutes after? I don't want to keep other people, but if you're interested, stay. But Jess, if you're okay with that, I just have some thoughts that I talked with Barb about, and I think Joanne, this is important about, you know, if we're going to start a second scholarship type thing, I might want to talk about that if you're interested.
Yeah, that's fine. And we can even recap what little we shared at the top of the meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No real decisions were made, but we can share that after everybody who heard it steps off. I don't mind doing that at all. Go ahead, Joanne.
Okay, with that being said, and mentioning that there are opportunities for whole sponsorships at this golf event, I would like to put a motion out there that the Capital Zone would sponsor a whole for it's $100, and it will be complete with a whole sign at the event.
Can I ask you to withdraw that motion and I'll talk to you about it later?
I was also going to say, can we withdraw that motion, because I think it's a bigger conversation in terms of Carol and Wendy and what the zone's going to do. So I would like to talk about it further before a motion is made for either individual.
Sure. And if there's anyone else that, would like to participate in this conversation, feel free to join as well.
Yeah, if we could just stay a few minutes, we can cover a lot of that stuff pretty quick.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I think we're at a point where I can ask for anything more for the good of the order before we close the official meeting. Have we missed anything? No, I appreciate everybody who made it here to the end. This wasn't a short one, but we did get a lot done. And next time we get to celebrate. So thanks for staying. But can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, thanks, Pete. So Pete makes a motion. Terry, was that you that second?
No, that was Colleen.
Oh, Colleen seconded. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
It looked like it was unanimous. If you're taking notes, Jen. All right, so anybody who would like to leave, have a lovely evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And those who want to hang out, please stay on. I'm going to stop the recording. Have a good night, guys.